when my first IVF cycle was canceled, I I realized how much I had completely lost myself
Okay.
because I wasn't giving any space for joy to create joy in my life, or it was all about trying to get pregnant. All of my heart and my mind, my soul was how and when can I get pregnant? And I lost myself because I didn't hold space to grieve.
In a world that feels like it's continuing to divide, where we're putting up walls against anyone different than us, and we avoid conversations because we're so scared of saying the wrong thing. Through this, we've lost our ability to connect and really understand one another. As someone who struggled to come out, I know how isolating it can feel to be defined by a label and misunderstood. Last season, I sat down with incredible people, and in just an hour, I learned so much more about them and how we can truly support one another. The tools we uncovered were powerful, showing how vulnerability and listening can bring us together. There are so many more stories to tell, and I'm excited to dive deeper this season.
I am Alexis. I am someone who is facing fertility struggles. My husband and I began our journey, I would say, fall of 2018 to start a family.
Yeah.
So that's been about 5 years. When you go through the motions of what society expects of you and tells you what success is and what happiness is, and you go through those steps, and then you meet one that isn't going the way you thought it would, it's obviously very surprising. It throws you into disbelief. It's just, I would say, an emotional roller coaster and can be all-consuming. So when we started to try to build a family, I just thought it would happen. I felt young and healthy, and I even had the mindset that it could take some time. You know, I've
Right.
had friends and family where it happens right away, or it might happen 6 months down the road. I had friends who had had miscarriages and said, you know, it's normal to have one or two, and then you'll have a family. And so as I began to try, you know, I just kind of leaned into who I am, just being positive, taking it moment by moment, and it wasn't happening. I would say, unfortunately, at that time, my my dad was also diagnosed with terminal cancer at that time. And so it was this wanton desire to build a family for my husband and I, and to continue on that formula of happiness and success.
Right.
And there was a race to have a certain amount of experiences that I wanted to have with my dad,
Right.
of seeing him with my child, or which became a race to, can I just tell him that I'm pregnant?
Right.
Unfortunately, neither of those happened.
Yeah.
And so the struggle of that, I think in the first year of trying, I would say about 8 months of trying, my focus was very much on my dad's cancer journey, and then the disappointment of not being able to get pregnant afterwards.
Right.
But I think in my mind, I just thought, I'm stressed, so as time went on, it was about 8 months of trying, and I decided to go and get tested because medically they say, for women over 35, you should really just try for 6 months, and if you're not having any luck, then go and get tested. In that time, again, of waiting for those tests and those results, my dad had passed away, and then we learned from the results that the numbers in terms of where I was meant to be was not looking good, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Just it wasn't ideal. So we were referred to a fertility clinic, and that takes some time, a couple months to get into, and then they send you for a bunch of tests, and those, it just goes on. And so, yeah, so finding out that I was in fact infertile, I guess you could say, or experiencing early perimenopause, that was shocking, even though I had been trying to conceive, because society just, our beliefs right from childhood, the movies we watch in Disney, you meet your partner, you fall in love, you go and have your happy ending, right? On a society level, it's built into us that as women, that's what we do. We have babies and we can have them when we want. And in high school, in sex education, they repeatedly tell you how much it's important to take the birth control pill and how easily it is to get pregnant, and all of these things. So it's at so many levels, it is ingrained in you, conditioned in you, that when you want to start a family, you can start a family, and it's going to happen easily and on your timing. Right. And so I would say each step of the way, when I was learning different information that was confirming that it was going to be harder for me to conceive than others, I was just in disbelief of every step of the way. And then I would quickly be like, okay, well, I'm going to just do what I need to do, and then we'll get pregnant, right? But the longer that goes on, the more you lose your sense of self when you don't. You tend to feel unworthy. You question if you're meant to be a mother. Yeah, it's an all-consuming journey. It's just hard. So
Thank you for sharing and just being vulnerable to this, because I know it's something that's not talked about a lot. And part of us believing as women, like, that you will, you find your partner, you get married, you have a baby, and part of that is because this stuff isn't talked about. Because if that stuff is talked about, all of us can go in without that expectation, or at least a little bit of it, knowing this is also a possibility. Right?
Yeah.
Not, I'm a woman and I can get pregnant and I will have a baby, and that's how easy it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you talking about it, I know a lot of people will be able to relate. And like me being your friend, I've seen parts of your life and seen parts of your struggle, but I can't fully ever understand, but I can listen and try to understand more.
It does mean a lot, and it does go a long way to know that you have people in the corner, because facing fertility challenges can definitely feel isolating. Because it isn't, like you say, it isn't talked about enough, and it is misunderstood. I've been fortunate to have wonderful friends and family that have been supportive. But there are people that I've known in my life that don't understand the magnitude of it, and can diminish it, and just like, and going back to like, oh, it's normal to have, you know, not be able to get pregnant right away or this or that, you know, just once you get through that and you have a child, then everything's fine. Like, what was the worry about?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And these traumatic experiences stay with you. So it's not just, it's not like on that emotional level within the body. I do have a daughter who is 3, and we thankfully conceived between IVF cycles. Having her didn't heal the whole of the wounds of the journey of the 2.5 years that it took to conceive her. So just even that, the journey of facing infertility, how it can leak into everything that you are working towards, and you are waiting for that moment to finally have a child.
Right.
And you are waiting to feel the relief and the joy. And unfortunately, it didn't really come that way. It was more like, how can I like talk myself out of this and believing this, that this is actually true,
Right.
and feeling silly for even thinking that it could be true. How you hold your breath at each moment along that way of, even when I told my husband, Kyle, he was in complete disbelief. And he's like, I'm not believing this until the blood test with the doctor. And then we go to the doctor, and even our doctor says, now don't get excited. We need to watch the HCG levels, and if they're rising, and this could be an ectopic pregnancy, you could miscarry, you like all of these things, they are setting you up for preparing for this not to work.
Right.
And so you wait for the next blood test to confirm, and then it is confirmed. And so the joy of these moments that you are longing for are not completely there, or you're apprehensive to feel hope and joy around it.
Right.
Because you are waiting for that other shoe to drop. Each ultrasound was like walking on eggshells once you become pregnant.
It feels like very much like just picturing like you're holding your breath the whole time.
Yeah.
You also mentioned like there's a lot of misconceptions, misunderstandings from people.
Mm-hmm.
What is something that you want other people to understand about this journey?
I don't know if I could say it eloquently enough, but it's just really bottom line, just like how hard it is. I guess from what I could lead with, honestly, is there are studies out there that show that women who are facing infertility experience the same levels of stress, anxiety, and depression as women who are facing cancer and heart disease.
Okay.
So, and infertility is a disease of the reproductive system. So that this isn't just, oh, you know, go on a vacation, relax, stop stressing out, and it will happen.
Right.
Oh, go and have a bottle of wine and with your partner and it'll happen. This isn't something that is just relax and it'll happen. This is like your body is not working the way that you would like it to. And the amount of effort that women put in to get their bodies working for them is, again, just, it's massive, it's deep. You change your diet, you exercise the right amount. You cannot exercise too much or too little, you know, like you want to have proper blood flow. So there's the diet, the exercise. You are seeing multiple health professionals, from acupuncture to naturopaths, all sorts, in the name of getting pregnant.
Right.
It is a full-time job to manage all of the appointments, all of those protocols. It can become quite stressful. Basal body temperature, and not to mention the financial stress of all of that, plus treatment if you're choosing to work with a fertility clinic. So yeah, the misconceptions are is just that, oh, you're going through a hard time, don't worry, it'll happen for you.
Right.
And that, I think, feels so invalidating of your experience that women turn into themselves. I turn into myself, and you don't share, and you keep quiet to yourself because you feel so misunderstood, and then you feel isolated and very alone.
Yeah. It feels like there's room for nothing else. I think I didn't realize how consuming it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point, that because it really doesn't feel like there is space for anything else, and it literally can feel like you are drowning.
Right.
Like you are clawing your way up every day to the surface to just try and get some air and stay above, but you get pulled under.
Right.
And so whether you are trying naturally at home still, or if you are going through fertility treatments with your clinic, there's just like this amount of waiting. So it's ironic because it feels like there's not a lot of room for anything else, but there's also a lot of waiting involved.
Right.
And so I think the efforts that I have put in, and I have heard from many other women and say, is just, we are trying to do everything and anything we can. You are working towards the next cycle or the next treatment or your next ovulation date, whatever it might be.
Right.
And you pick yourself up from the last disappointment and you work towards it and you try to do everything right. And you meet that moment and then it doesn't work out.
Right.
And you get another negative pregnancy test. And then from there, it's like just complete disappointment, complete despair, like, to put it lightly. I remember days of just feeling sleepless nights, lying awake and feeling depressed in the morning, like very unmotivated to do anything. It feels like years, like waiting for like that next moment to try again, or your next cycle, or your next ovulation date. But at the same time, it doesn't really feel like there's any space for what you're really feeling, you know? Like to really meet it the way that it needs to be met.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, we gotta pick ourselves up and get positive. Again, there's no space in there for grieving. And so it just builds up within you. I left a big piece of me behind in that. When my first IVF cycle was canceled, I realized how much I had completely lost myself.
Okay.
Because I wasn't giving any space for joy, to create joy in my life, or it was all about trying to get pregnant. All of my heart and my mind, my soul was, how and when can I get pregnant? And I lost myself because I didn't hold space to grieve. It was like moments of it spilling out of me. When you're in that space, you just really want to just get it together and move forward.
Totally.
You know, and all of those emotions can, at the time, especially when you are so stressed and dysregulated, you can't even feel like you have the tools to even deal with those emotions.
Right.
You don't know what to do with them, and so you shove them down, and there's people in your life or in your community that are not validating you or your experience, so you feel like that there's no place for them anyway.
Right.
It's just meant for you to deal with on the side, and let's just like pull our socks up and keep going.
Right. What did people do that was invalidating, and what did people do that was validating?
Mm-hmm. I think it's an innocent attempt on the people in my life that, because when somebody's going through something challenging, they want to support you and they want the best for you.
Totally.
People, I think, sometimes tend to go towards trying to fix or offer solutions rather than just listen and hear and say, I understand, like, you've been through a lot, or this must be difficult. Just go on a vacation and go, like, don't think about it. Don't stress so much about it. Those kinds of things were difficult.
Yeah.
And a lot of the solutions too of offering things like, I've already done that. I've been there. Like, yes, of course I'm trying to have a baby every day or every other day. Of course.
Yeah.
I am eating all the right things. Of course I'm trying not to stress. Of course, like, yes, thank you. I've got it, right? And because women who face this, there is no like stone unturned, right? They are already living in the essence of what a mother is.
Yeah.
They are already being a mother to their child that they have yet to receive into their arms.
Right.
And so I think that is so difficult to hear when you're like, God, like, I am trying, like, everything.
Yeah.
And so, and what's validating, I think, it's very just like, really simply just like, how are you doing? Because then that does create the space for me to say what I need to say, because I might not always want to talk about it, but at least it's an opportunity to talk about it if I choose.
Yeah.
And it's a chance to use your voice and to let somebody into your world.
There was a couple things that I wanted to address that you said. One, you said to say, how are you doing? And I like how you said it. It wasn't just like, how are you?
Yeah.
It's like, how are you doing? Like,
how are you doing today?
With some understanding behind it, that I understand that things are hard and you can offer if you want or not.
Yeah.
But not just glossing over it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that has come up a lot is not offering solutions.
Yeah.
And you're right, like, you're not telling us what people have said just to like throw them under the bus. It's like people can watch us and learn, okay, that wasn't helpful, or that was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so many times, and we know this, so many times people jump to a solution.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to fix it.
Yeah.
I want you not to be sad. So I'm going to offer a whole bunch of solutions. But in offering the solutions, it's saying, I don't trust you and I know better.
Right.
Right? It's like, oh, you must not have done that. I know better. And we know that when it's coming from the person, it is, I just want to fix this and for it to be over.
Right.
Instead of me sitting with you.
Right.
Trusting that you are doing what feels right for you.
Yeah.
And giving that power to you.
Yeah.
And it is hard because we've been raised in a society where we want to fix.
Yeah.
Right? And we know, like, it's taken a lot of work just to sit and listen to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And know that if you want advice, you're going to go to somebody who has been through it.
Yeah.
And say, I've tried this and this. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're not coming to some, like...
Yeah, unsolicited advice.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
So to be able to sit in that.
Yeah.
Are there any moments where somebody has shown up as an ally, and what does that look like?
It sounds funny to say, but even your own partner can sometimes not feel like your ally. Right. And so I could say, my husband showing up and being an ally. So although we're facing a similar experience, how we are journeying it is different, and how we relate to it is different. And so we're facing the same challenge, but our experience can be completely different. And so having an ally in him is nice for both of us through our own pain of like trying to like manage that sea of emotions and uncertainty. I think we probably both of us have been allies for each other and non-allies for each other.
Right.
Yeah, he's been an ally and checking in, but also just doing things like the logistical things of the appointments, or actually even just the other day, something came out of the blue. You know, we're still trying to have a second child, and something came out of the blue where I was just triggered for him to just check in 10 minutes later again and just say like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, it's huge. Yeah. I've been fairly fortunate with my group of friends and family where they'd check in every once in a while. And for me, I am not somebody who wants to talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have, you know, just intermittent check-ins.
In terms of society, what do you want people to know about?
You know, language is tricky because just even the word infertility.
Right.
I try to use personally the words fertility struggles.
Right.
Infertility feels very like confining and definite for me, where I just believe that anything is possible and no matter what the doctors say. Sure, maybe checking in like as a society, like because the reality is there are 1 in 6 people globally that are dealing with infertility.
Wow.
So you likely know somebody in your life that is struggling with it. And if you do know someone as a society or just like even a place of work, not everybody shares their journey even with their own family, never mind their workplace.
Yeah.
But just asking them what do they prefer, because I have heard women finding strength in the word infertility.
You're saying like 1 in 6 are experiencing it. Like that's huge. That is a big number.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know most of the people that are experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
Which like in my brain right now, I'm like, wow, there are probably so many people that I know
Mm-hmm.
that are going through something that I have no idea about.
Yeah.
So are there situations where we don't even know somebody's going through it that we can change our wording?
I think one is definitely talking about it and getting the word out that one, it's a disease. It's just not a factor of just reducing stress or just trying.
Right.
Like it's like that can help, but it's not just the thing, you know?
Right.
And taking it seriously, like really. And it's obviously just not women going through this, it's men as well, you know, that impacted by fertility struggles.
Before we did this interview, we talked about labels and stuff, and how with labels there are these expectations.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, I am a woman. I will marry a man. I will have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Then I have a boyfriend or I don't.
Right.
I obviously don't.
Right.
And then once you hit that step, so then in that step, there's all these questions. Like I would get a question like, oh, you get your boyfriend or whatever. I'm like,
Right.
oh, I don't want a boyfriend. Like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then there's those. And then if you follow in society standards, so you
Yes.
had a boyfriend and then you have a husband.
Yeah.
And then the next question is, well,
Yeah.
you're a man, so now are you going to have a kid?
Mhm.
Right? That's the next question.
Yeah.
It's like the next question to society is always the thing that they expect is supposed to happen.
Because society is going down that condition route of expectation. Kids, or even if somebody has a child, when is the next child? That can be quite painful. That little did they know that that person had a miscarriage last week, or they're doing fertility treatments. That can create a sense of unworthiness in yourself, while you're going through it, because society is expecting this of you. You expected it from you, like even before you started it and knew about the struggles. And so when you can't, it is excruciating.
Right.
And so, yeah, you just want to scream to the world, like, I am trying, I am doing this or I'm that. And it's not happening yet. And so it's just like another thing thrown into your face unintentionally.
Totally.
It's all well-meaning.
Yeah.
But yeah, could we normalize maybe not asking? Because there are some people out there also that just are choosing not to have children.
Totally.
And they shouldn't have to face those constant questions either. I hold that not lightly, but I want to balance it with a sense of empowerment for the person who is going through. And this is something that I try to practice myself. Facing infertility and the fertility struggles, you can feel quite powerless.
Right.
And like you have zero control. And so when people are saying well-meaning things to you or things that are just normal in society, but it can be quite painful to you, yeah, we definitely want to educate people on how can we evolve this situation so that women and men going through fertility struggles are not feeling so isolated or scared to share their stories because it's going to be met with invalidation. So the balancing of, you know, having the society evolve and to be more supportive, I have practiced to empower myself more so that I feel more in control, because I know that the people in my life who love me want the best for me, and they might be saying some painful things for me at the time. And especially if I'm going through it right then and there, something particularly painful, it will hurt that much more. Right. And so I say this only for empowerment for somebody of what can they do for themselves, because the reality is we can't change people. We can try to educate people, and especially the ones that we have closer contact with. But what we can do also for ourselves is empower ourselves to know your friend or whoever is well-meaning and they weren't intending to hurt you, and that we can get to a space where we can say, you know what? I understand that you're trying to help and be supportive, but just so you know, saying XYZ, that's not supportive, and that's actually quite painful. And so can we get to a space where we can create more space to grieve so that we can separate ourselves from the identification in our emotions, so that we can get to a space where I see what this other person is trying to intend. It's not landing with me. And so here's a teaching moment, and here's a way that we can evolve together. And so I'm all for teaching society and communities and your family members, your friends, your loved ones in your life, and teach them how to support you, looking inward and really holding space for yourself as well. Because we have the power to hold space for ourselves so that we can then accept the support from outside.
I love this because I think it's a balancing act, right? We don't want people to be scared to talk, because that takes away connection. As soon as I'm scared I'm going to say something wrong, I cannot connect with you.
That's right.
But I can educate myself, and I can start realizing that asking somebody, when are you having a kid? Well, actually, I have educated myself now, and maybe that's not the right question. Like, oh, you know, what are your plans for the next couple of years? I don't know if that feels better, but like, we don't know, right? But it's educating ourselves. But then I love the piece that you're saying is that we are all empowered to use our voice. Now, when you do use your voice, it is the responsibility of the other person to do something with it.
Absolutely.
Right? And then at that point, you've learned, and then hopefully there's some change that happens.
Right. And then that's where you can set your boundaries, which I think is so needed on this journey. For the ones that aren't are not well receiving of your request, then you know, okay, this person is actually truly not supporting me, and either they are no longer in your life or you don't talk to them as much through this period of time, like whatever it feels right for you.
I feel like when you set your boundary, you empower yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, I no longer have to skirt around this. Like I have some control.
Yeah.
And then, so it's almost like I'm not assuming the worst of this person.
Yeah.
I am assuming this person can learn and grow.
Yeah.
And we can grow together.
Yeah.
And if they show me they can't, then I can set that boundary.
Yeah. We're also conditioned to push our pain down, to hide it, to be polite. And so you don't want to rock the boat or make other people feel uncomfortable. So we shove our emotions down. When I was shoving down my emotions, I didn't realize that I was invalidating myself.
Right.
And how detrimental that can be to how you feel inside about yourself, and how that feeds the unworthiness piece. Because you're telling yourself unintentionally that your feelings and your emotions don't matter, and you are putting yourself last compared to everybody else's comfort level around you. I feel like that's such a sneaky one that adds to the journey, to the challenge and the pain of it. That's not really at the forefront of, like, that's where we actually have control. Like, if we can hold space for our emotions and actually let them out and have someone be a witness to them, how validating, and how you are telling yourself that you are worthy, that your experience is painful, it is hard, it is challenging, that you are validating yourself. So, and in doing that, I believe that gives you strength to lean into the belief that you are worthy.
A word that keeps coming to me when you're talking is grace. And it's giving the other people grace when they're asking questions that are painful, but also giving yourself grace when you're not able to say to them that that was painful what you said. And then in that, being able to find the strength. And through this journey has led you to be able to coach other women and help other women in this space. Is there offerings that you would like to give other women that are going through this journey?
I would say hold space for your emotions like you would a friend in need.
That's beautiful.
If you could imagine your emotions like a good friend in need that's coming to you for support. And they're saying they're stuck, they're feeling lost, they feel like they're drowning, they don't know what to do. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's easier to give that to friends than ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
If you have little Alexis sitting here, what would you say to her?
Yeah, I would say, you have all you need within you.
Yeah.
You have all you need within you.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lex.
Yeah, thanks.